Okay, so this is our Lino it on curating. So we started by defining it, and then we thought we would answer the idea about how students become curators themselves. And in elementary school, it's probably a lot different than it would be in high school, where the children would be facilitated to take that role over more than the teacher would, where Wendy and Marla and I were thinking perhaps when they're younger, that's more of a teacher role, but they still need to be aware that when we're curating, we're looking for information that's comprehensible. So if you can't read it, you shouldn't use it. And if it's reliable, which is a big problem on the internet, we can't just take any old thing and use it. And if it's relevant, which can be a real problem, particularly with Division 1. So then this green sticky, if you can make it more on the screen, maybe. There we go. So I didn't, Marla, was this yours?
I just put that one up, WebQuest. There are, it just sort of explains what it's about there. I haven't explored it, but it's something I would be interested in. There are web quests already created to use, but you can create your own. It's a way of looking at information and funneling it right down for the kids to be able to use in a research question or in a project of some kind.
So the rest of the whole board you're looking at is kind of along that same line. So there's a few different things you can use. Marla, I think, also found the top 10 sites for curating the web, which there's a list there, but then I pulled some specific ones out. So you've got a list with links there that you can take a look at. Scoop It is on our, I think, yeah, Scoop It is on our board. So is Pinterest, and you'll notice it's number 1. It's really worth checking out if you haven't done it yet. But if we go back to the board, maybe we can click on Stumble Upon perhaps, and you can kind of take a look at the first bit there. Stumble Upon I would never recommend for students, not even high school, because you can tell it what your interests are, but then as you're coming across new things that have been posted to the web, it doesn't filter out adult content. You have to do that. And since we don't want to expose even our high school students to adult things necessarily, we kind of need to be the professional curators in this area. This is tons of fun. I have wasted hours on Stumble Upon, and there's great stuff out there. And the nice thing about it is that it really focuses on new things. It's not like, well, this has been on the web for like 10 years or something. It's stuff that's been posted recently that's coming out of all over the place. So it's a great place. I love that one. I played with Scoop It a little bit. What's up there? I forget the other. Yeah, so that's basically the overview. I think the whole idea about this whole curating thing is just to make sure that we're understanding that we are the filter, and we need to make sure that we're looking at things that are relevant, comprehensible, and reliable before we just throw it out there, right? Either as students or as teachers, it doesn't really matter. We can fish all we want to, but if you don't digest information first, it's never going to be usable. So.
And you know what I've always told student teachers is adults aren't that great at looking for doing a search. I mean, university students aren't that great. So why do we think we could put a grade 5 student in the lab and say, look up something on Samuel de Champlain? You know, why do you think they'd find the best? Did you want to say something about that, Wendy?
I'll just let you finish and then I...
Nope, that's all I was going to say.
Well, so when we first started looking at the curating, my question was, maybe I've been teaching too long, how is this very different from what we've always been expected to do, especially at elementary? So are we just looking at being able to post it and gather it in a different way? Basically, we were going into Google, finding things, and then just putting it here on this nice little bulletin board. But the expectation has always been that we're gathering those sites and either putting them in a D2L shell or putting them on the list or something for our kids anyway. So my question, I guess, is, so is this any different than that? Am I missing something, I guess, is what I want to know.
Well, for me, it maybe has already always been there, but as long as I've been involved with technology in schools, I see teachers all the time that don't vet sites. They herd their kids down. Low grades, herd them down to that lab, give them a search term and say, go crazy. which they do, and I mean, there's not always the best. You want them to spend their time looking at the best of the best, and so to me, curating is somewhat vetting. It's
Okay.
somewhat putting it into one spot so that you could send the kids to this site. It's like a hot list where you would list the best of the best, and they're there, and you could be assured that if they went home and continued working on this, the parents wouldn't be saying, I can't believe they got them on this site. Like this, you know?
So it's kind of the same thing, we're just kind of putting it together in a different way and again reinforcing that as
Mhm.
professionals, we need to be doing this.
Mhm. And
for our students.
I think if we're doing the curating for us personally, it's really like our old list of bookmarks. You know, how you
Yeah.
used to put it, and it was like this long, and if you had to look for something, you never find it. There's several sites that do that, but I think this can become a place for you to put the stuff so that you can find it, which is what Pinterest really is, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly what Pinterest is. The only caution with Pinterest that I would have, for particularly, I don't even know if I would let the Division 1 kids use it by themselves necessarily. I'd probably be doing the curating myself. But Division 2 and up, if they're going to be using it, they need to be aware that as soon as you follow somebody, the things that they pin and post are going to pop up. Whether or not they have been properly monitored is something that I wouldn't want to take responsibility for. And so I would just really exercise caution with that, particularly with the younger ones, you know. But it's an excellent thing for you to gather up yourself or whatever, or whoever you trust. Bring it to school, and you know what? Hey, let's click on this or that or whatever. Just make sure you don't do blah, blah, blah. That's really easy to monitor in class. I just wouldn't necessarily send it home as homework and say, hey, go use Pinterest tonight. And yeah, not so much, you know.
Thank you.